All right. So, before I started streaming, I remembered a conversation that I had today with a friend, and I'm still trying to recover from it. So I'm going to try to not laugh. But if you guys are curious, it's just something that's kind of sarcastic, and it is that okay? I work with someone, and then we work with someone, of course, and then we tend to have like little inside jokes, and basically we were just talking trash about how when you're really confident about your job to where you let the fumes get to you and you become unrealistic, so then it's like you don't make any mistakes, let it be because of your experience or your expertise and whatever. So now, anytime someone makes a mistake, we say, but this person doesn't make any mistakes. So then I was thinking about something that has been happening to me, and when I apply that, I feel a whole lot better. But I gotta remember that they don't make any mistakes. So, all right. I know that was completely random. I haven't even greeted you guys, but I just wanted to get that out of my system cuz I think it's funny. So, in case you wonder, today's topic is going to be like things that I think people ought to know. And I think there is a lot of things that could go on this list, but I decided to pick the ones that are important for me. And I don't even remember which ones I mentioned in my last stream. This was like back in maybe the springtime or something. I don't even know. But, anyways, so definitely one of the things that I want to touch on has to be political science. And I never ever in my life thought that I would mention that because I am someone who absolutely dislikes and despises politics. But because I understand just how much they affect my life and how much they impact uh, me as a citizen, then I'm like, okay, it is important to know this whether we like it or not. So, the aspects of political science, of course, that I think we need to focus on would be how the hell does the election work? For example, what the fuck is okay, you go to the poll, you cast your vote, and yet you're not the one who is electing the official who's going to run the country. It has to be the so called electoral college. They are the ones who actually have a say. I live in this country, I was born and raised here, and I still do not understand fully how the hell elections work. And it's just particularly irritating because I like to think that when I vote, I am going to be electing someone who's going to represent me and respond for me and address the issues that matter to me as an individual. But oftentimes, no matter who you vote for, these people know each other. So, therefore, whatever it is that your needs are, because they don't relate to it, nothing changes. And I guess that's where we are at. We as people, we're beginning to understand that we are living in this fantasy where we think that we have freedom and we actually have a say on these matters, but little by little I feel like we are not participating on stuff that is simply a waste of time, and instead we are dedicating our efforts, energy, and focus to things that maybe will help us move in the right direction. Of course, there's people out there who are distracted and just not investing their time and resources wisely. But who am I to say that? Only I know what's going to work for me. I cannot speak for the general population, but I like to think that based on the conversations that I see people having these days that I used to not hear about at all, and some of these people did not believe in any of this stuff at all, I think it's a step in the right direction. Additionally, I think it's important for us to know exactly what each branch of government does. We have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. Okay, it's very easy. Like the executive branch is the one that like enforces the law. The legislative branch is the one that makes the laws, and the judicial branch is supposed to be the ones that interpret the laws. But even when you have those things defined in your brain, you cannot help but wonder, okay, just how exactly does all of this work? Because you can know the definition to something, but that does not mean that you understand the process of it. It's like when you're in math class and the teacher shows you how to solve an equation and how to plot it into a calculator so that it gets graphed and whatnot. If you do not know how to dissect the equation, you will not understand the process that the calculator underwent for it to arrive at the answer that it arrived. So, what does it mean for the judicial branch to interpret the law? And why is it that even though these branches exist, there's still stuff going on, such as people who get sentenced and convicted wrongfully. And we got people pretty much who get away with stuff, and people who end up being exonerated long after they have passed on. Where did we go wrong? Where did they fail? What did they fail to consider to where someone's life ended up ruined as a result? Someone clearly did not do their job right to where these mistakes took place. I cannot call this a very efficient method. And then when it comes to the executive branch, what happens there to where we end up with leaders who clearly leave a lot to be desired. And then on the legislative branch, we have these people who clearly do not understand at all what it is to not be of their class. And then they think that they are really after our interests when they are not. So, little things like that, I think we ought to know, we ought to understand and spend more time in so that maybe we can become better citizens and educated to be making better decisions, participate better. But here I am sitting here talking about this, and I myself am not very well educated at this. And I want to blame myself for that, but at the same time, I did not exactly have a say as to what my education would be like. I trusted that when I was going to school, I was getting the best possible education based on where I was at. But at the same time, I realized that I learned a lot of incomplete stuff. I even learned some lies that I am starting to unlearn now. And also, it's just frustrating that I spent 13 years of my life going to an institution where I thought that the info I was receiving was 100% accurate, but it turns out that I didn't. So now I am just trying to be a responsible person now that I know that, undo the damage, and it's going to be a lifelong journey, just like knowing about life is a lifelong journey on its own. But at least I'm not resentful. At least I feel like that made me aware to be careful of my sources of information. I cannot trust everything and everyone that I see and meet. So I feel like it's a curse that I need to be grateful that it happened, because maybe I would not be the person I am today if it were not for that. Also, it is important for everybody to know their rights, because when you think about it, you like to live your life not really thinking about what your rights are, and you just think that the life that you live as you know it is how it'll be forever. But then something happens to you that you end up missing out on certain perks because you're not aware of what it is that you can claim, what it is that is valid and invalid, what it is you can get compensated for, what your protections are. And I know that I personally am very lost in this department. The only thing that I know that I have a right of immediately off the top of my head is if I were to get in trouble over anything, I know that I can have a lawyer. But what does that mean exactly? Because it has to come at a cost. If I cannot have my own lawyer to be originally a contact of mine, and I expect, say, the state or whomever it is that has to supply it for me because I have a right to one, what does that mean? What would the quality of this lawyer be? Is there a catch to it? I have absolutely no answers to those questions, and we all know that nothing in life comes for free. So, what would the consequences associated with that be? But at the same time, I'm not living my life doing the wrong shit to be worried about this, but at any moment I can get in a wreck. It may or may not be my fault. What will I do then, depending on how bad the disaster is? And based on how many close calls I get, especially yesterday's, I just don't want to take anything for granted in that department. So, yeah, what the hell are our rights? My Miranda rights, I know them just a little bit, but that's in the event that I were getting arrested, which I'm not planning to be. But beyond that, just what are our rights? Do we really not have a right to, say, healthcare in this country? I know that there are places that are non for profit, but I'm sure those places have a catch for it. Do we really not have a right to drive? I know it's a privilege, but beyond that, is it truly not a right for you to be able to drive if you have your resources and you have a license and everything? I know that they say that your license can be revoked more so if you're being irresponsible, and I think it's important that we can, uh how can I phrase this? That we can control that. We don't need to be having irresponsible people on the road, but yeah, just what are rights? I'm trying to name some rights that I have, but I just cannot really think of them. And I'm not ignoring you guys in the comments. I just want to just say everything, wrap up the topic, and then get back to you guys. So I don't want you to feel discouraged. Um, and of course, on the topic of political science, we need to know our history, but real history. Because let's face it, school does a very terrible job. I don't think we can even say that school does any any kind of good job at it at all. There is a lot of deception, there's a lot of misinformation, there is a lot of stuff that we don't talk about that I think should be talked about, because hello, history is what brought us here, and there's a lot of bad stuff that happened that we should be over, but for some reason it happens in the present. It just has a different look to it. Have we really progressed and marched and moved forward from our past challenges? I like to think we have, but at the same time, there is stuff that's still questionable. And of course, I'm not going to compare the life that I have now to the life that I could have had decades ago had I been born just a few generations earlier. But at the same time, we need to question it more. We need to dig into it more, find out more, because it's become a normal thing for that to be a mystery, for that to be something that we are unaware of, something that we just brush over the surface and we just let go. I'm a victim of that. I am absolutely apathetic about finding out who my ancestors were, what they did, how they got here. I just know the very basics of it. And anything that I may have picked up under the assumption of, well, since I fit certain descriptions and certain characteristics, then I am inherently part of those groups of people, and some of this stuff speaks to me, but at the same time, it may not be. I don't want to be claiming, say, a culture that totally does not belong to me at all, just like this Elizabeth Warren lady tried to do. So why am I that way? Well, because I just tell myself, how will that benefit me in the present? I do not see how that would. And of course, that is wrong. And I also think that it's wrong that if I were to have grandkids and they asked me about our past, I would not be able to tell them anything about my side of the family. And instead, my husband can probably trace back his damn history. But for some reason, I cannot. See what I mean? I think that those of us who have a certain degree of apathy for the past, I understand why we are like that because I'm a part of it. But at the same time, I am not saying that this is the best attitude to have. There is a lot of people devoting their time and effort to digging up info from the past for us to just sort of sweep it under the rug and do nothing with that information. I think it is essential that we know that. And then, on top of knowing real history, since there's a lot of terrible stuff that has happened in the planet, I just think that it's not fair that we, as a present day population, we tend to be so protected about the ugly stuff that's out there in the world, and we live in this bubble to where when disaster strikes, we are overly shocked and we don't react in an efficient way to probably increase our chances of surviving. I know that if I were to witness a disaster of some sort, I will be utterly shocked and maybe even paralyzed by it. We shouldn't need to be that way, especially when in the past we had people pretty much on the front lines witnessing even more gory and terrible things. We have become a very, what is it, mellow, nurtured, just watered down version of humans. And I think that we should retain some of our instincts, but I feel like we're just unaware. Like me as a woman, I am completely unaware of what it's like to give birth. And I know that in the past, we could all count with the support of a large number of people. These days, we seem to be very isolated. Like, oh, that's just your business, that's your family's matter. But no one seems to be involved with a woman anymore when she is expecting. Whereas in the past, it used to be that the whole damn village would be involved. And then they keep talking about how women have high mortality rates, like their infants can die at birth, or she herself can die at birth, and nobody seems to be really questioning why that is, except, well, it's maybe the baby was just a bad product, or maybe the woman did not know how to take care of herself. And I'm like, that's it? You don't want to dig into it deeper? What was happening in the past? I know that in the past we had mortality rates for different reasons, usually hygienic stuff, but why do modern day why do we in the modern day still have that stuff happening? See what I mean? So I just want to know why some stuff has become so normalized. So we're not really focusing time, effort, energy into researching that stuff. But, anyways, I thought that I would just mention that. And basically, school's message to me, it's very vague in my experience from K until 12. Everything about school to me seemed vague. It might have been my school district, because I know that education is not the same like nationally. It matters where you go, but why can we not create a system that's systematic and it ensures that everyone can have access to the same degree of quality education? I think it's weird that we are not on the same page when it comes to that. We don't need to be exact, but how come there are some truly ignorant ass people out there? And then there are some of us who seem to be just woke naturally. And then those of us who are just in between. You have your degree of ignorance, and then you have your degree of, wow, you got some wokeness to you, but you need to level it up because you're not quite woke yet. See what I mean? And then, of course, to me, this is my most important one, and it's pretty much the reflection of this channel, and that is challenging values, especially challenging leadership. Who are our leaders? Who do we trust? Why do we trust them? How do we entrust them with certain things? And why do we value the things that we value? Is it imposed to us by us, or is it imposed to us by someone else? And if it's imposed to us by someone else, why do we not question it? Why do we just accept it? Oh, because it comes from an influential figure, it comes from a role model, or yada yada. Why? When we have a lot of people who are struggling with their identity, sense of direction, they're depressed and getting drugged and shit, I think you need to ask a few questions and maybe even figure out who it is that you're respecting, who it is that you're entrusting with your stuff, who it is that you're trusting, period. I don't think this is right. I don't think this is normal. And I would urge everyone to just be true to yourself and ask yourself, where did I get these values from? And if you determine that the source is either unknown or unreliable, why do you not get rid of such a toxic thing in your life? I really think that a lot of people's personal misery is easily correctable, but they are having trouble letting go of the way they got used to their lives being, to where you don't try different things. You don't try a new, say, a new job, a new relationship, a new place to live. What is keeping you stuck where you are if you are not happy? See what I mean? So that's why I say challenge your values and challenge those leaders that are present in your life. But I'm not perfect. Who am I to impose this on anybody? But that's just what I have noticed, and I thought that I would share that with you guys. And then also, another thing I think we need to know is economics. Like, holy shit, how do you file your own taxes? How do you invest? How do you start a business? How do you take out loans? How do you buy a car? Nobody fucking talked to me about this at all when I was in school. And I have had to learn stuff the hard way, and there's still a lot of stuff that's in the dark to me. I do not know how to invest. I do not know very much about the, say, the health industry. I know that there's the health insurance marketplace, but how do you even navigate through that? All of this looks like a big clusterfuck. It's like the terms and conditions on every page that you never read, but if you actually read for like 2 minutes, there is a lot of info there that you're just like, what? I will never forget when I read my insurance information, my car insurance stuff. I looked at it over the surface, and it talked about stuff like dismemberment and being handicapped, being blinded, being just stuff like that. And the kind of coverage that it offers, and what is covered, what isn't covered, death, and the amount that is covered to replace someone else's vehicle, what is covered for you, etc. There is a lot of information in those fucking papers, and we just mindlessly sign it and we're not aware of anything. So, of course, they create these documents very long to, I guess, discourage people from reading it, and we treat it like the fine print in everything that's ever handed out to us. But yeah, why does stuff have to be that way? Um, but yeah, pretty much getting involved in beneficial causes, I think it's also something we should know. How can we help? How do we help? But how can we help others when we ourselves are pretty stuck? And of course, I have a few more things to mention that I have listed, but I'll save it for another time, and I will catch up with the lovely comments of you, lovely community. Holy shit, I'm really behind. All right. Hey there, beautiful. I am glad that you are in the world. I appreciate that so much because sometimes I feel like I do not want to be around. But don't worry, it's not like I'm one of those people whose life is in danger. Like, I'm all right. I'm not like that, but it just helps to hear that someone has a high esteem for from you or for you, because The people who are close to you sometimes make you feel like they have zero regard for you, and I don't take anything or anyone for granted. So just know that any kindness is always welcome. If elections truly change things, politicians wouldn't allow them. You know what? That makes a lot of sense. I have never heard someone phrase it like that, but when I think about it, that makes a lot of sense. Hello, everyone. God bless. Happy Wednesday. Two examples who won the people vote but lost the Electoral College: Hillary and Al Gore. Yes, that is so true. I'm like, how did we end up with our current president when all of us, well, not all of us, of course, because it was a narrow, relatively narrow margin, but how did we end up with this buffoon in the White House when clearly the people said that's not who we wanted? And while we are on that, who says that we need to be bipartisan? Who says that you have to be either right wing or left wing, or like, what about the independent party? I know that they'll probably never win at this rate, but how come that when you have the ballot in your face, there is that blank that you can fill in the name of whomever you think should govern the country? But they, of course, will never get a possibility of winning. How can we make this effective? We are electing literally one person, one single body, one single human entity to be our representative. I think that should be the work of a slightly bigger group that's more diverse in the sense of addressing issues. Not everyone can be very, what's the term? Specialized in many areas. We can have a leader that's good in the economical sector, but they're going to be absolutely terrible in the education sector, and they may be average in the healthcare sector, and below average on the environmental aspect. And on global relations, they may be an absolute disaster. How can we elect a group of people that are specialized in those areas so that as a nation we don't have to suffer? We are endorsing too much responsibility upon one single individual, and I know that this person has their advisors and it's not just a one man job in any sense of the word, but it almost seems like it. So how do we still allow for such an inefficient form of government to still exist? And the reason I dare name it inefficient is because this may be a, what can I say, developed country, but there's still people who are homeless, without health care, living in poverty, and some of those cases it's the individual's fault due to mismanagement of money, or say getting busted for something that they were not supposed to be doing or possessing, and then that sets your life back financially by decades, stuff like that. Some stuff is people's fault, let's face it. I don't want to sit here and just be like, oh yeah, the person is always right, the people are always right. Because let's face it, there's people out there who are not responsible as people. But I think that this country already possesses the resources to where those types of crises should not be a thing in our society, period. But they still are persisting. So I just want to bring that up and ask a few questions and just bring a conversation about it. It's not like I have the power to solve anything, but if I can at least become an educated individual, maybe I can improve my own life and then during that quest help others. I feel like we all became a little egotistical in that aspect. We just became too self centered and we don't think about how we can help others so that we can hopefully just help a bigger number of people. It seems like we just keep our achievements to ourselves instead of just sharing it. Anyways, efficiency and government are anathema to one another. What's up, people? Never trust a school or what they say they will get you. Apparently, there are 30 human rights. Do you know them all? I don't. California has a new section road where you pay to use it. Isn't it crazy how California could literally be its own little country? Education is so important, so sad about it. Gotta fight it and get the way so much hate in the world because person of skin color, most teachers being jealous of a person. I agree with you. There are different laws in different states that people don't know about it. Yes, states reserved powers. We need to become more educated in that because for me, my favorite one is that not every state handles the purchase and selling of alcohol in the same manner. There are states that, for some reason, they don't let you buy it on certain days of the week. Other times it's a certain time of the day or something. And if it weren't for me working with the public and them mentioning how their laws in their home states are different, I would have never found out about it. So yeah, what are states' reserved powers? And I understand why states need to have their reserved powers, but um, that clearly, as citizens of one nation, that gets confusing because it would be impossible for you to keep track of absolutely everything. Like, me being a resident of my current state, if I tried to become a resident in another state, which I tried, the traffic laws, for example, may be a little different. I remember when I was trying to get my license and I tried living in Kansas briefly, and a lot of stuff over there was just different. And they also legitimately had tornado alarms. I was absolutely never under that kind of atmosphere. So to hear that freaking alarm being tested, I was kind of panicky, but everyone else was relaxed. And holy crap, I froze. But, anyways, and I just said to myself, wow, I would not have found out about this had I not left my state briefly. But, how can you possibly educate yourself on everything out there? But, anyways. Oh shoot, the timer froze. What happened? Okay, well, it froze briefly, but I guess it's still rolling. Um, let's see, where am I at? I guess it's starting to lag on my end because there seems to be some activity. But anyways, let me see, where did I stop at? If it infringes upon another person's life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness, it's not a right. Thanks, Stephen. You are welcome. Hey, Stephen, how are you? I am good. That's good. Zemri, I feel you. The bloodline in the past in the family that I want to know where my family came from. Am I late? No, you are not. The whole damn village was there. Hey, beautiful. Hello. I never went to middle school, high school, or college. Is it safe to assume you were homeschooled? College education is free. College is only to get certified. Well, I wish that in this mother effing country, college was free because it's sure ain't. I mean, you could technically get a free ride if you happen to be a child with merits that are good enough to grant you the privilege of very good scholarships, but let's face it, most of us are just average. And then there are also scholarships that you can be eligible for meeting specific criteria, such as being a minority, being a woman, for example, or being a woman who is interested in an industry that clearly is not dominated by them. And true story, my teachers kept bugging me to keep pursuing my interest in the sciences, given that there's not a lot of women in science. And I'm like, well, they are starting to surface because I see stuff about physicists who are female and astronomers who are female and I have yet to meet another fellow geologist, but I say fellow when I'm not, but I like to think that I'm knowledgeable enough in that. But but yeah, I am starting to see more women, but is it because of affirmative action? I don't want to just say that. I want to say that these women, of course, have gained their merit because, hello, if you're in the field, you have to be accepted if you have certain, what is it? Uh, what do you call those papers? Anyways, degrees and stuff. So so there you go. You wanted more females in the sciences, so they seem to be inspired. But anyways, that's a whole nother case, a whole nother story. I guess I should explore. But but yeah, I realized just how much of an advantage I would have had in the scholarship application process. But unfortunately, I could not proceed because I needed information from my father. And as you guys know, me and my daddy ain't exactly the closest of people, so I opted for not complicating my life by communicating with him. And I just said, you know what, I shall skip a higher education and figure out how to prevail in my life in a different way. I feel like if I were to chat with him these days, I would, I would accomplish something. But it's been years now since I finished high school, so a lot of stuff I would not be eligible for because of my age, among other things, but whatever. I don't give a crap. It'll be alright. La 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 la. I lost my spot again. Every time someone posts something, this scrolls to the bottom. Uh, oh yeah, and on the note of bloodline, I guess what makes it interesting is sometimes you want to compare yourself to people from the past, especially your family. What were they like? Why do you have certain traits, certain habits, certain strengths, certain weaknesses? My biggest curiosity is, since I am super mixed, then what things was my bloodline not good against and what things were we good against? Like, I like to think that I have a immune system that's better than my ancestors, not just because of vaccination, but because the stuff that got one side of my bloodline, the other side was immune to it. So, just stuff like that. What is it that gives me an edge and what doesn't? It's kind of weird to put those thoughts into words, but I just wish I knew more specific countries, because I can only trace the white side of my family, but I want to know more about the non-white side of the family. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, we're not going to talk about that. It's not my favorite topic. College education, I talked about that. Zamri, there are people making casinos, making sports team more than schools. I don't need college to know psychology. I know reverse psychology. You know what? Psychology is something that I respect a lot because it it is so important to understand human behavior so well, right? Along with the physical aspects of it. But at the same time, I feel like it has become too saturated by people who claim expertise in the field and they are not really, God, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I don't feel like they're really contributing to it like they could. What I mean by that is, have you guys noticed how there's a lot of people who hold PhDs in psychology and all that? Well, okay, how are you contributing exactly? Are you just a therapist, psychologist? Are you legitimately researching ways to cure certain ailments? What makes you an expert? And why is everyone attracted to psychology? I feel like some people go to it because And someone out there is going to heavily criticize me for what I'm getting ready to say, but I feel like that is a degree that does not require very extensive skills. I feel like if you have the ability to simply comprehend the language that you are educating yourself in, psychology is very stress free to learn and grasp. Whereas there is some stuff that's a little more complex and it actually requires for you to legitimately know what you are doing. I am not trying to say that a college degree on psychology is a very easy, straightforward ride. I am just saying that there are certainly fields out there that would challenge you a little more. So I feel like psychology is overly saturated because it's easier to grasp. Same thing with sociology, the study of people and their behaviors and society and yada yada. That is a social study. I don't think that social studies are incredibly difficult, but maybe that is just me as an individual. Maybe I have an edge at comprehending that area, but I know that the sciences are challenging for me when they involve mathematics. So there's people out there who are very good at mathematics, but they may be terrible at reading people or understanding people's behaviors, emotions, and whatnot. So, for me to say that psychology is just easy for everybody, when I take that into account, I am incorrect because this person who is amazing at numbers, something that I am just not good at, this person dominates a field that I don't, whereas I dominate a field that they seem to struggle with. I just like to think that psychology is not difficult, but maybe it's not true in general. But, anyways, I thought that I would just throw that out there because why not? Where did I leave off? La 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 la. Gosh, I wish I could just pin where I left off and it doesn't scroll. I believe one of your human rights is to a full and complete education. Makes sense. Only one we can trust is Jesus Christ. The way men care about money and the devil, they are thinking about laying people out of the powertrain. I dropped out of school to work and got my GED. I still rock some mean reverse psychology. You know what? I've always been curious about the GED. I know it is the equivalent to a high school diploma, but what is that like? How does it compare? Anyways, yes, different things is beautiful to do, but facing fears is way better. Is this life still? I hope that I am still alive and well. It seems like I am since I still see comments arriving. Human rights, right to individuality, freedom from discrimination, to live in freedom and safety, no slavery, no torture. You have rights everywhere. I have them all in front of me. I could go on. Please do go on if you so desire, my child. Um, but I guess I could comment on each of those, I guess. Right to individuality. Interesting that you should write that because that seems to be a word that I seem to toss around like seasonings on my meals. And yeah, because to just lump everybody together and generalize that the same wants, needs, and desires that I have are the same wants, needs, and desires that everyone has, that's incomplete. Not everyone will feel about certain things to the extent that I do, and that is all right. We are different. But what I mean by individuality all the time is that I hope that you are the one who's defining themselves. It seems like these days decisions are made for us, and I think that's just wrong. freedom from discrimination, of course, you were not exactly consulted prior to conception as to what you want to be like, sound like, appear like, be attracted to, desire, wish for, prefer, etc. So you did not choose to be male. I did not choose to be female. I was not consulted at all. I happened to be born with it and just happened to be satisfied with the outcome. But yeah, to be discriminated against is just something that shouldn't be a thing. But I mean, maybe there is bullies all around nature. I don't know. I'm not sure. To live in freedom and safety, of course, but I feel like modern days are just the illusion of you having freedom. I think that freedom should come when you feel like you can actually be, say, off work and not have to worry about being homeless. And you can actually get sick and be like, okay, I don't have to show up to my shift feeling like crap, but doing that means I have to face the consequences, which is I may not eat as much as I get to, or my car may need to run on less fuel or something. I don't know, whatever it is. And no slavery, of course. The brutal aspect of slavery was done away with, but if you ask me, in modern day, slavery is still a very real thing. No torture, of course. That's not everyone can say that they don't experience that. You have rights everywhere. Da 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 da. Okay. I dropped out of high school in 10th grade to work. I got a 107 IG uh, test score when I was in the military. IG or IQ? Well, it says IG, so I'm going to go with IG. I'm tripping. Maybe I'm just starting to wind down for the day. Even though I fell asleep during the test. People teaching different education, good job, IQ. Okay, you did correct that. Oh, the fact that I was able to piece that together before I read ahead. Yay. Zam is not as slow as she used to be. That's what I figured you meant. I am technical independent or technically independent, but I just don't vote, so I am sinner and non-voter. Okay, I see what you mean. Technical independent. Yeah, I like to say that I am independent too. When I got my papers to vote this time around, it said that I had no political affiliation, and I am like, good job. Sorry, I am off work. I've been drinking, so my spelling went out of the window. Oh, what are you drinking? I have been drinking too. Lots of water. But I did have a sip of an alcoholic beverage a couple of hours ago, but I'm pretty sure that that did not impair me in any way. Don't worry, Zam is not becoming a drinker. There is not going to be a drunk video, don't you worry. It does not matter how hard you try and teach me how to do that stuff, but a lot of times it comes out wrong. Anybody love her hair as much as I do? It is a damn shame that I had to freeze because otherwise you would see me just modeling it. The only reason this country is semi-stable is because the government still have religious rights as a protected class. You know what? The social hierarchy, class hierarchy, that's something that needs to be dealt with. Um, this thing squeaks. That's funny. Squeak, squeak. People care about sending billions of dollars of having wars, but not spending billions of dollars on schools and more. Yeah, exactly. And they don't care about homeless people or people who are struggling from paycheck to paycheck. Inflation won't help. Inflation will just make it worse for people who work a steady job. And you see, this is the aspect of psychology that I like to respect. When you look at life, well, let me speak as an individual. The way I look at life is very simple. I like to describe life as it being just this massive psychological game. And what I mean by life being a massive psychological game is that everything. There is so much freaking psychology behind it. There has been a lot of studying, a lot of observing. Humanity didn't just start like 5 generations ago. We've been around for quite some time, so we have noticed patterns, we have written them down, we have conducted numerous tests, experiments, yada yada. So, of course, the current, I guess, psychological test that we are enduring has to be the power of you having discipline. Sugar is delicious, but I am not going to abuse it because it is known that it causes all these loads of problems. The immediate gratification, I am a victim of that. I'm like, you know what? I must spend this amount of money on this thing that I do not need, but it'll please me, it'll make me happy, so let me go ahead and do it. And then maybe next time I'll do better about saving my money as opposed to giving it to someone else. How about if I save my money, keep my money, do things with myself, with my money for myself, as opposed to building someone else's wealth and funding someone else's dream? That's another aspect of life being a psychological game. It's like they know what it is that you like, they keep a track of it, they bombard you with all these temptations, and you end up making terrible, poor decisions. And that's why your life does not seem to really improve at a rapid pace like it could. So, what do you do then? Are you going to choose to live miserable or live miserably because you're not very good at self control? Or do you say, you know what? Although there's a lot of bad stuff out there, I am going to be pleased with whatever little bit that I have. That is the person that I am. I know I could be better. I know that I should aim for better. But at the same time, how about if I just take it easy, build, and just not overdo it? Just be kind to myself because it's very easy for you to fall in the trap of, say, depression just because you are not progressing in life at the rate that you would like to. I used to be like such an overachiever that I would allow myself to be miserable a lot. But now I have learned to just be satisfied with the bit that I have, continue striving for more, but not obsessing if I'm not somewhere uh, at a certain rate. It's okay to not be my best at all times. But yeah, just everything that you do has a consequence. So the game is, which consequence do you want to deal with? Are you going to make the worst decision, or are you going to at least uh just not fall into a trap that you cannot dig yourself out of? That's what I'm trying to get to. So yeah, I just look at life like that. It's a psychological game. There is a lot of immediate gratification, and you need to know when to recognize it, how to recognize it, and how to avoid it, because it's not always a good thing to act on it. So we tend to be people who are not very patient. We like to have results immediately. We have expectations. What happens when those expectations are not met? We need to be okay with things not always going our way. And I find that a lot of people struggle with that. Let's see. Where am I at? Inflation will just make it worse for people who work a steady job. They really hate homeless people. I've never seen a woman doing work outside of an office at CSEX. Let me rephrase what I said. The info given in college is free, but you need an institution to be certified to be recognized by the government. Ah, yes. I know what you mean by that because um, I've always wondered, with so much information available in the internet, why is that not valid? There are a lot of people out there who clearly have talents abilities and whatnot. And yet they are not preferred because they don't have the so-called little paper that indicates that you are indeed what you say you are. You are an expert and talented at so and so. But nobody knows that I am a writer and that I can really, what can I say, advise people well. So, because I don't have a certification for that, no one would take me seriously. But I like to think that I have done more for my friends than their own personal therapists have. For example, does that make me someone who is an expert? Someone who is a doctor or something? No. I'm just someone with good intentions. But anyways, I see what you're saying. I totally know what you mean. Super big, super smart, super cute, super etc. Ah, super funny, super down to earth, super free spirit. I was never attracted to psychology. It is just what happened in my life that forced me into it. I use reverse psychology for free to help people. Psychology is literally ideology. Reverse psychology is the ability to see people's psychology, ideology, and help them with logic based on their own ideology. Being free like a bird is beautiful. I hope and mad respect. I am a worker bee. I am trying to get capital. I just like a slow, regular life. Everyone lives so different. People gotta drop out of school to help their families want to go to school, but I can't. So much things. If you make it, hire me. That is why I like capitalism. Amen. No problem. I will help you. I want you to make it in life, and God bless. All I ask in life is to wake up and help the needy. I am just not for helping lazy people. My first job was at McDonald's way over 10 years ago. I now work in a career that can let me get capital. Oh my gosh, you can make a long and good conversation from the simplest things. Oh, yeah, I love me to talk. I have spent a lot of time just sitting alone thinking to myself, and I like to think that I am a relatively good, what is it, critical thinker. I'm not perfect, and at some stuff I'm terrible. Like, I'll never forget when I made a video on evolution and you guys were not feeling it, but I'm like, y'all, try to look at things differently. Why would I sit here and repeat the stuff that everyone else has said already? Just be different, and whatever you do, do it with confidence. So it's like there's a friend who is starting to do his own vids, and he's always like, I don't have much to say, or I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what I should do, this and that. And I'm like, my channel is terrible. Just sit there and do something. Be proud of the fact that you created something. Because I'm like, what can I say? What makes me happy is knowing that I put out something, someone found it, they thought they liked it, someone else found it, they hated it. And then it helps me to just grow and learn. Don't be afraid. Just do everything in life with confidence. Just do that. Just do it. Because some people are just down to earth. Wake up in the morning when I go to sleep. Okay, I knew that there was something weird about that. Huh, you're a writer. I have like 3 scripts that I need someone to help me with. I just suck at writing. Well, the type of writing that I like to do is more personal accounts. And I like for it to be full of information, substance, personal experiences, thoughts. So it's not like I can write something that's very um complex in the sense of taking something, pulling it apart, and then creating some kind of theory out of that. But of course, grammar skills, I like to think that I have them. Spelling skills, I like to think that I have them, and I do not need to rely on autocorrect. For example, I am genuinely a good speller. My vocabulary, I like to think that it's pretty good. Maybe average. Like, I don't feel like I'm drowning or fumbling for words a lot, except for the moments when I go, how should I say this? Without sounding, some type of way. But yeah, just whatever it is that you're writing, bro, just write it with confidence. And if you would like a second opinion, I guess that's when you should reach out. But everyone has their own exclusive voice, and you just need to figure out how to project it in a non-verbal form. That's the way that I write. The way that I sound while speaking should be the way that I sound when I write or text or type to you. And if you read anything that I have written, you should be able to pick that up. So maybe one day I'll showcase some of that, or maybe post a link to a blog of some sort. But meh, you'll just have to trust me when I say that's the way I roll. I like to think that that's how I also project myself when I reply to some comments that you lovely guys leave. Uh, Everyone have talents. Most people don't have faith in God to do. You know what? That's true. I wish that I were better about that myself. I might need to shuffle my scripts at you so you can fix my series. I just need an animator. Ha! Animated reading. A lot of people loved me in middle school and high school for the way that I read because it seemed like I was giving life to whatever it was that I was reading. I call it networking. That is useful. Yes, Zamra, I want people to believe they are smart without a degree, or with a degree, with a person believing in themselves is uplifting. Just remember this very simple thing. A degree comes from college. College you have to pay for. Paying for something makes it a business. Something that is a business doesn't inherently make it, what is it, perfect or efficient. So yeah, it should be, it should be all right. Just don't fall for the trap of businesses. If something has a price tag on it, just question it and wonder how much do you really need it. And when I think about college in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, nah, there's not everything. Not everything can be accomplished through that route. College is not for everybody. So don't be afraid to be the person who opts for skipping it. That is why you are good at writing. You can play the role of a male and female. That is a hard talent. Zamri, you're the coolest person even in the hot weather. Well, I appreciate that. Alrighty, guys. Good night and God bless you all. Jacksonville's out. All right. Yeah, on the note of dismissing oneself, I was thinking about bailing myself because I have to leave. I'm actually here by accident because it turns out that I was forgotten to attend a certain function that I do every evening, but whatever. This helped me catch up and put some thoughts out there that I otherwise probably wouldn't have, and then I would have probably not streamed tonight, and I kind of feel weird when I don't stream, so anyways, so yeah, you guys, thanks so much for joining me. This makes it much more fun when there's interaction. Thanks, Zamri. I love your videos. I'm so glad you like them because it's not like I lack confidence at them, but I just remember how I used to be when I started and where I am now, and I'm like, holy crap, this actually turned out better than I gave myself credit for. I'm a movie lover. You know what? I don't watch that many movies. It's embarrassing, but I'll make sure to always let you guys know what I do get around to seeing. Don't leave. If you are down for helping me, I will be down to network. Well, how about this? Drop me a comment with maybe a way to reach you or something, like an email or something, and I'll be sure to email you. Because that would be the most effective method of communicating with me sometimes when I just disappear. Um, but yeah, if you're legit, if you really would like someone to give you input on the stuff that you write, I'll be more than happy to help you with that. I like to see what people are writing, what people are talking about and stuff. So yeah, I would say drop me your email address and I shall contact you at my earliest convenience, and my earliest convenience is immediately upon receipt. All right. All right, guys, I have to go now for real. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon. I'm sorry that my image froze for like the second half of this, but one day